if Trump is convicted, that he's arguing that every Democrat in America needs to change Trump's first name from Donald to convicted felon, that his name should never be used without convicted felon before it. So we'll see. I mean, we don't know if it'll be a conviction or not. In fact, I'd love to hear your thoughts on whether how you think this is going to play out. If you've ever been on a jury, what you know about the dynamics of that. Again, there are reports that there is one juror who early on had said that he reads Truth Social and has been apparently smiling and nodding at Donald Trump and at his lawyers. Is this the guy who's going to hang the jury or not? I mean, hung juries happen 1 out of 20 times. So, it's certainly within the realm of possibility. And, as I pointed out yesterday, Robert Durst, the billionaire murderer, maybe he's only worth a few $100 million, but whatever. He killed somebody, and then there was one juror who hung the jury on his trial. And the outcome of that was that, Durst had a couple of years out of jail before he was finally convicted in a second trial. A hung jury doesn't mean that's the end. It means that they can refile the charges and start all over again. Which again would be a win for Trump. It would push him past the election, which is his goal. And so what Durst did was, after that juror hung the jury, Durst just showered him with gifts and trips and all kinds of stuff. So, is there a juror on this panel who is thinking, what an idea? I don't know. We'll see. So, number one, he could be found guilty, and he could be found guilty in a variety of different ways. Number two, he could be found not guilty. I think the odds of that are zero. Right? The evidence was overwhelming. Number three, there could be some sort of real bad shenanigans in the jury room that might cause the judge to call a mistrial. I think that's extremely unlikely. It's very rare that it happens. A juror jumps up on the table and starts shouting "Heil Trump" or something like that. I mean, who knows, right? Or number four, you have a hung jury, which is where one or more jurors refuse to vote for conviction, even though everybody else on the jury is like, yeah, the guy is guilty as sin. I'm guessing that he will be found guilty. This is just, my theory, just my guess. But my guess is he will be found guilty. Judge Merchan will impose a fine as a penalty rather than jail time. He will appeal it, and it will have zero consequence in terms of his followers. I mean, after all, he's already been found liable for raping E. Jean Carroll twice. Not raping her twice, been found guilty twice by two separate juries. And, his followers are still, oh, yeah, we love Donald Trump. Oh, yeah, he raped that woman? Well, maybe it was just fake news. Two juries said that he raped that woman? Oh, well, next topic. I mean, I just don't, everybody's like, the polls show that 40% of Republicans won't vote for a convicted felon. Well, I think this is the shy voter theory. Remember back in 2000, George W. Bush got put into the White House by the Supreme Court. He lost the national popular vote by 500,000 votes. But there was all this speculation about, well, how did he win when he was so far behind in the polls? The polls showed that Al Gore was going to win. And the theory that the Republicans came up with, or that the media came up with, was that Trump voters were just bashful. They were embarrassed to admit that they supported a guy who, went AWOL during the Vietnam War and was a drunk and a ne'er-do-well multimillionaire son of a multimillionaire family. And, I think it's nonsense. But although, maybe. I mean, it's possible. Just think about this. If you're a Trump voter and somebody calls up and says, would you vote for a convicted felon? Do you want to say to the person on the phone, well, of course I would. They might think poorly of you if you said that. So you don't say that, right? So maybe there is something to the bashful. I didn't believe it in 2000, but maybe there is something to the bashful voter theory. So what do you think? All right, number one. Number two, the other big story here is HartmannReport.com. The headline, Medicare Advantage, why are we paying for sham insurance? This, what provoked me to write this, I've written about Medicare Advantage many times, but the thing that got me going on this one is this extraordinary report that came out of Wendell Potter's brilliant Healthcare Uncovered Substack newsletter by Matthew Cunningham Cook. And he wrote that this year we're going to give Medicare Advantage companies $64 billion to compensate them for things like groceries and dental and eye care and prescription drugs, just all kinds of goodies that you can't get with real Medicare. In other words, you and I, the taxpayers, are giving $64 billion to these private for-profit insurance companies, by and large. And they are using that money to unfairly compete with Medicare. I mean, it's pretty astonishing, right? Mark Carlin sent me a note saying, there is a congressionally commissioned agency to report to Congress on Medicare. It's called MedPAC. That's the acronym. And this is a quote from their report. From 2018 to 2023, the share of eligible Medicare beneficiaries enrolled in Medicare Advantage rose by 3 percentage points. Medicare spends an estimated 22% more on Medicare Advantage enrollees than it would spend if those beneficiaries were enrolled in actual real Medicare. A difference that translates into a projected $83 billion this year in 2024. It's amazing. It's 122% of what Medicare pays. Now, it's not that these companies are spending 122% more money on your health care. You actually, 18% of all claims submitted to Medicare Advantage companies are turned down. Now, with real Medicare, you never submit, you never have to have pre-clearance. The insurance company doesn't get in between you and your doctor. So this is outrageous. I mean, we're paying $64 billion for these guys to unfairly compete with us, to unfairly compete with real Medicare. And then, you get like the former CEO of the nation's largest Medicare Advantage provider, United Health. He walked away with over $1 billion. That's with a B, one guy. And his successor, Stephen Hemsley, walked off with $500 million. Good work if you can get it, right? So, and then, you see that what they're doing with this money, all these billions of dollars every month in profits, is they're buying off members of Congress. And I mean, that's how Medicare Advantage came into being in the first place. This was when George W. Bush ran for Congress back in 1978 in Texas, and he lost, by the way. His big thing was, I will privatize Medicare, I will privatize Social Security. And when he became president, he was like, hey, let's do it. And in 2003, he created privatized Medicare. It's called Medicare Advantage. It is not run by Medicare. It's run by run by private insurance companies, most of them for profit. And it's a very profitable gig. I mean, it's generating tens of billions of dollars in profits every year for these companies, compared to real Medicare that just is a good single-payer healthcare system that pays the bills. This year, according to OpenSecrets.org, the insurance industry has already spent $45,173,132 showering gifts and persuasion on federal lawmakers to keep their obscene profits rolling. I mean, this is, and why? How do they get away with this? Well, because Clarence Thomas was the deciding vote. The billionaire-funded Clarence Thomas was the deciding vote in Citizens United, which legalized political bribery. We need to fix both Medicare Advantage, at the very least, force them not to use the word Medicare any longer. That's Mark Pocan and Ro Khanna's, Save Medicare Act, at the very least. And we need to fix the Supreme Court, which I'll get to in a moment. In fact, I'll get to after the break. So stay tuned. It's 18 minutes past the hour. It's the Thom Hartmann Program. Fair and only slightly unbalanced. I'll be right back with more of the news of the day and your calls in just a moment.